Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. I'm Dr. Gale, and I'm hoping today in the video you guys will learn how to be able to finally share your lesson with the world and make sure that your students and your users can access it and enjoy it. So today what we're going to be talking about is actually publishing our lessons out to the internet or the World Wide Web, or however you need to get it out to your students. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we're going to be talking about today. So hopefully by the end of the day you guys will see how to publish your lesson out either through Articulate Storyline or Adobe Captivate, and be able to get that lesson up into the internet. So that way, not only you'll see the different ways that you can publish it out, but you'll see how to be able to ensure that your students or users can get access to it. And then we're going to try and look at each of the benefits, pros and cons of the ways that we can publish it out. So with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the various ways that we can actually publish our lesson out. So generally speaking, there are three ways that we'll look at doing it, kind of a fourth way, but three ways we're going to look at doing it. One is you can end up having a hard copy that you basically push out to a thumb drive, a CD, something like that, and you mail out to the participants. Now, in general, you're not going to use this to actually get it out to the end users. The main reason you would end up doing this is to end up having it where it's saved out and can go to the client. So the client has all the files, the source files. Maybe they're going to take it and send it up to the internet on their corporate website or something like that, but you're basically just getting them the files. The second reason you might do it on a hard drive or something like that is because you're going to end up sending it to people to test. So again, it's not the live, maybe not even the finished product, but you're going to get it out to them where they can put the files, especially if it's a large file. You're going to have it where they can take it from a thumb drive, put it on their desktop, and that way they can test it on their system, and it'll run a little bit faster for them, a little bit smoother for them while they're going out throughout the testing phase. So that's one way that you can do it, is on a hard copy, and those are the reasons why you generally might do that. Now the second way is you're going to actually put it up on the internet itself, and there's two ways to do this. That's why I kind of said there's four, not really three ways. But if you're sending it up to the internet itself, you can either put it on your own hosted website, or you can usually send it up to a company website. So if you're using like SoftChalk as your LMS publisher, you can end up pushing that up to the SoftChalk cloud. If you're using Articulate Storyline, you can usually pump that directly to Rise 360, which is Articulate's kind of hosting site for some of their lessons. But anyways, basically you're pushing it up to the company's website rather than yours. Now, if you have your own web space somewhere, and this isn't talking about something like a Weebly or Wix or something, you actually have to own web space that has probably an FTP protocol, so you can send massive amounts of files up to the system. Because depending on how big your storyline thing is, you might be pumping out 150 different random files. You'll never look at them, you won't know what they are, you wouldn't be able to read them even if you saw them. But they're going to cluster them all together, and you would need a place to be able to dump them, and that's usually called File Transfer Protocol, FTP, and you would have to have your own website to do that. So if you don't know what that term is, and you're kind of like, what is File Transfer Protocol? Don't worry about it. That means you're probably not going to be using your self-hosted site. It's a little bit more tech heavy, and you'll probably get somebody to do that for you. But generally speaking, you can send it up to your own website. You end up owning all those files, basically, and all that kind of stuff. You'll take the URL from your personal website and you'll send it out to somebody to view. Now again, you may not have a bunch of students or people that end up actually accessing it as an end user. It's another way to be able to kind of test out probably more of the final product rather than some of those earlier testing phases. But if it's ready to go and you're pretty confident students will be able to look at it, but you still want to send it out to a handful of people just to run through it, figure out how long it's taking, if there's any gaps, usually then you'll put it on one of these hosting sites so that you can send it out, or your own self-hosted site so you can send it out and they can actually look at it at the speed a student would, because then your internet downloads and stuff all come into play. Where again, if you had the hard copy and they put it on their computer, those download speeds don't matter because it's on their computer. So final product, that's how you might send it out so that you can end up having people test it. Anyways, in the end, a company may put it up on their own website and then they'll embed it, they'll link it. We'll talk about access on that if you get it up to the website in a second. The last way that you would actually publish this thing out is if you're putting it into a learning management system somewhere so that there's grades associated with it. Maybe it's a part of a course or a part of a training, and the organization or the school wants to see how well they performed on it. Generally on that, you're going to end up putting it into the learning management system like a Blackboard, Canvas, Schoology, Google, whatever. If it doesn't have a direct embed and push where it cannot say, hey, here's my Blackboard stuff, I'm going to put my login information, so once you publish this lesson, it hits the login information and sends it up to the LMS, what you'll normally do is publish this out in what is called a SCORM file, S-C-O-R-M, SCORM. That will put a zip file essentially on your computer that, again, has all 150 files in there. You'll never look in the zip file, you'll never look at the SCORM thing, but most LMS systems have built in where you can go in and upload a SCORM zip file, and then it will take all those files, read them, and it will basically dump the lesson into your LMS. So again, what you need to know from your side is you would be publishing it out as a SCORM file, puts a zip file on your computer, log into your LMS, say insert SCORM, however it does it, and then you will put that zip file, and all of a sudden your lesson is in the LMS. So those are the three ways that you can basically publish this out. You publish it as a hard copy on a computer, put it on a thumb drive and give it to somebody. You put it up on the web, either up on a hosted site or up on your own self-hosted site, or you can end up embedding it into an LMS either directly or you upload it as a SCORM file. Those are your three publishing: LMS, website, hard copy. With that being said, how do you access the lesson? Well, obviously if it's a hard copy, they're going to have to get a copy of it. So you mail them the thumb drive, you mail them the CD, stick it up on a Google Drive or something, and they download it. One way or the other, they got to get the files on their computer. So that one's pretty clear cut. The LMS, again, once you've embedded it, published it, however you got it going in there, they have to have access to the LMS, and then they will just run through the lesson because it's embedded in the LMS already. So basically, if you're in a school and it's part of a course lesson or a module, you put it in there, they log into the school's LMS, go in, do the lesson, boom, hit your lesson that you've developed, run through it. When they're done, the grades push to the grade center. But basically, they log into the LMS, take your lesson. The trickier piece comes when you end up having your website one, whether or not it's self-hosted or hosted on one of the company ones. Basically, you got two methods that you can do whenever you do that. One is you can go and get a direct link to the lesson. So again, if I'm on Rise 360, if I'm on SoftChalk Cloud, whatever, I can go up and I can find where the embedded lesson is. I can take that link and I can send that link out to the students or the trainees or whoever needs it, and they can run in and click the link, boom, the lesson pops up and they go to it. Just make sure you have proper access set so that security is not blocking it. But you give them the direct link. Two is you can kind of embed it on your website, which is the same thing. It's over on SoftChalk Cloud, something like that, and you can grab in, like, it's usually called like an iframe file or something, but basically it's got a chunk of code. You copy it, you go to your website, you paste it, and it's there. And then the last thing you can do is actually embed the lesson somewhere on a website on its own. So rather than them kind of having to go to the company website through the embed, especially if you have your own self-hosted one, you can end up taking some code, making that work, and you jam it on your own website. The biggest difference on all of those is if you're going to end up doing a direct link, it literally looks like a link on your site. You pop out and all of a sudden you're on somebody else's URL. It looks like you're on somebody else's URL. It looks like you're on Rise's website. It looks like you're on SoftChalk's website. Some clients aren't going to like that. They're going to want to make it at least look like it's on their own website or hosted by them. So that's where the embedded piece comes. If you can get those embed codes, paste it into the website, and a lot of times your web publishers, your techie people are going to do that. But if you get the embed code, that's where it pops on and it at least looks like it's still on your website. It may be connecting out to the company's website or your self-hosted website, whatever. But again, as long as it looks like it's on theirs, that's usually where companies are a little more satisfied with that. If they're doing true tracking or something on that, then they will end up going and either taking your files from the hard copy and putting it on their actual company website so that everything's self-enclosed on that website, or they'll embed it in the LMS and they'll go into the LMS for that company and take it through that. Why do I keep mentioning the LMS? Let's talk about some of the pros and cons, because there's certain things that different publishing ways will allow you to do certain things. One is going to be your access. So again, if you have a thumb drive or something like that that you're playing around with, they're going to have physical access to that. Now we've got the ability to Dropbox and Drive and all those kind of things where we can dump files and people can go and access the files, so it's a little bit less tedious than it used to be. But one way or the other, they're going to have to get those. That's a little bit more labor intensive. It's a little more problematic. If people don't know how to access Dropbox and Drive or don't feel comfortable with it, then you're having to go through the postal service. It's just a little bit of a pain. Hard copying, again, unless you are doing very early testing, you're usually not going to do a hard copy for anything other than backup purposes. The other thing you're going to have to look at is the technical capability on some people. So again, when we talk about like hosting, most of the stuff can push to SoftChalk Cloud and can push to like Rise 360 fairly easily. All you got to do is follow the tutorial, follow the instructions, and it moves up pretty smooth. If you're doing it on your own self-hosted site, you're going to have space. If you're using something like Amazon's web services, It's a little bit more complicated. It's doable, you can figure it out, but you're going to have a little bit more of a tech background or get somebody to help you with it. So your technical capabilities are going to depend on how you're going to end up wanting to publish that out as either a self-hosted or something that just basically, I don't even want to see the files, it just pushes it up to the company website. Also, when we're talking about that hosting thing, realize your space versus your control. You're going to have limited space on both sides of the house, but usually it's cheaper if you end up self-hosting it. You can buy some Amazon web space for about $3, $4, and boom, it's got you space enough to be able to dump a ton of lessons on there. If you start using company websites, if you're embedding things like images and videos that take up a little bit more space on these lessons, you're going to start hitting a cap on those company websites a lot faster. So you're going to have to make decisions whether or not to keep those things live, but download them as a backup and get rid of them off of there. Also realize when it goes on a company website, you're kind of using, generally speaking, most of the freebie stuff on that. They're going to have a lot more control of your file. So if you have a great file up there and you're like, hey, I don't know if I really want other people to see how to do some of these things. I mean, this is groundbreaking. A lot of times if it's out on that company website, they regain control of that kind of stuff. So you lose a little bit of that control to be able to manage that type of thing. If it's on your own self-hosted website, you can hide it, you can block it, you can pull it back down, delete it. No harm, no foul, because you're paying basically for that service. So just realize you have space limitations and you have control limitations, whether or not you're deciding to self-host or put it up on a company website. So again, the LMS, why do I keep bringing up the LMS piece? If you are going to do long-term tracking and grading, you want to track how they're progressing throughout multiple lessons over a duration of time, kind of like a class where you're doing tests throughout the semester, where you're doing assignments throughout the year, whatever, and you're trying to track those grades to see progress. You're generally speaking going to want to run that through the LMS, because the LMS has the grade book, it has the integration where anything they're doing in this lesson pushes to the grade book, anything in this lesson pushes to the grade book. All of a sudden you have a spreadsheet that is basically doing tracking for you, and you can start doing manipulations off of that. So just think of it like this: if you are doing hard long-term grading and you want to see their grades, the grades matter in the long run. It's not just a did you complete this. You're probably going to want to push it up into LMS somewhere where the company will want the LMS. So convince them, hey, I need to push this into something like an LMS. So that's basically what we're talking about there: long-term tracking, LMS. But otherwise, you're going to have to look at how they get access to it, and you're going to have to look at your technical capabilities versus space and control to decide whether or not you're going to want to kind of do a self-hosted versus a company hosted type website. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. That's a lot of the ifs and whats and things on publishing. We'll get some other videos out there on how to actually do a publish from like Storyline or from SoftChalk or from Captivate, but I wanted you to know the logic and the thinking behind when to publish, why to publish, the different ways you can publish, and then basically the pros and the cons behind each of those different ways to publish out of most of these softwares, because the publishing things are pretty standard across the board. So I just wanted to get that out there to you so you guys knew that when you start seeing all these different options on the publishing thing pop up, you know what they mean now. So hopefully you got that out of that. Again, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. If you guys like things like this, or you're trying to improve your skills in the online or the ed tech area, feel free to go ahead and hit the subscribe button. We're trying to make more videos out there for individuals to just up their games, up their skills, and that way it goes to your inbox faster. If you have any topics that you're struggling with or thoughts on topics, feel free to put them in the comments area or just reach out to us directly. We're always trying to make more videos, again, because what we're trying to do is, in the end, we want to make sure you have the best shot possible using these tools and techniques to make an engaging, awesome experience for your students or your participants in these trainings. That's what we're shooting for, so we're happy to try and keep making those videos and things for you guys to get to that level. If you have any questions on anything, let us know, but otherwise, we really appreciate you taking the time being with us today, and I hope that you guys got something out of this. Look forward to seeing you the next time. Have a good one.